Hey guys, welcome to our brand new YouTube studio. Bam! Montage, montage, ah, so cool. So in this video, I want to talk through how we actually went about building this, because we built everything here ourselves. And I'll be sure to cover the problems and challenges we face so you guys don't have the same problem if you want to design something similar yourself. Then I'm going to go through the equipment, show you the other side of this studio as well, before moving on to our back wall and what's so special about that. So the first bit for us was deciding how we were going to actually design the space. And we just looked at other creators and see what they were doing. And we looked at people like Think Media, Peter McKinnon, full-time filmmaker, Ali Abdul, and various other people, just to get some ideas of how they've laid out their setup, because we wanted to have more than just one setup like we've been doing for the last year. We wanted to have different ones so it always felt different, and then it's more kind of creative as well. And one of the main things for us is I didn't want this kind of like flat screen like we've been doing for a while. I wanted it to have some depth, so we're going to build out some A-frames as well. But what I noticed is, basically, if you're going to be a successful YouTuber, number one, you need to have a dark background. That seemed like a pretty given. Loads of people were using these wooden slats, and everyone seemed to have the same style of shelving as well. So I'm going to pretty much say that if you want to be successful on YouTube, you've got to cover those three things. So we're going to try and incorporate them as much as possible. I really wanted to have like a dark room. I wanted to have kind of a wooden room, and then I also wanted to have a lighter room as well. Just something that kind of really felt like a contrast to the other two. It's always the hardest when you're starting out to kind of figure out what you want to do and what's going to work. We spent so much money in paint testers just to see what's going to happen, but we think we want to go for like a fake concrete background. So we're just going to basically use some filler on the walls, cover it over, and then give it a nice little concrete paint. But we've just been testing out all of these different colors, because when we turn these lights off and we light it like a YouTube setting, it looks so different. And then for our wooden one, I think like this is the winner by far. I think this looks absolutely beautiful. My old office was all built out of OSB board, and that was really cool. And you can get some really cool effects by painting it. And we thought we might do like a gloss underneath and then do some cool lines and stuff. But I just think this kind of stained wood effect with the texture just looks so nice. So I think we're gonna go for a concrete theme, a wooden theme, and a something else theme as well. Oh my God, don't film that. That's terrible. So we've got the obviously the frames in, which are absolutely massive. And the idea is one side's going to be one theme, the other side's going to be the other. So when we spin this around, we're going to probably have to clear the entire studio. But I'm just going to bolt the frames together now, put the wheels on, do a bit more stud work, and we're pretty much there. But I think on the whole, it's looking good. So we finally got all the stud work in place, but what we've actually ended up noticing is that the size of the plywood is bigger than the plasterboard size, which is ridiculous. So now the stud work doesn't line up. So what we had to do was basically twist the top stud work so it fits in with the plywood, so we can actually start to kind of scale it up, because we don't want any of the cuts to be on show. We want these to be lovely straight lines, which will hopefully be the case. But yeah, I couldn't believe it when I came to put it on and it just didn't fit. It's just been a nightmare, but anyway, just carry on. Because of the weight of this as well, the structure of it was problematic when we came to move it. So when we pushed it, even though we reinforced it in the middle with some steel bars, and we've reinforced the vertical structure with, again, some steel L-shaped brackets, plus our wooden brackets at the end, it still, it was so heavy, it would feel like it was splitting in the middle. So we had to restrut the bottom to give it more support, to stop it basically bending in the middle. And these are things that we just didn't think would be the case from our first go. And it was something that felt like it was just gonna fold and snap in half initially. And more to the point, we didn't want it falling on someone when we were moving it. So we then went through, created a lot more brackets, and basically built it a lot more stable as a result. And now, despite it being so heavy, it does move quite seamlessly from one side to the other. For me, I wanted it to also be functional. So I wanted to be able to actually use this when it's pushed up against the wall fully. We can use this as a setup bench to like make repairs, build out the cameras, as well as just storing stuff and have everything really accessible and quick and easy to grab on our shoots. Because despite having a fairly big size studio, the amount of equipment we got now is literally spilling over. So this was really nice to take some of that from our storage area, put it on the wall, and I think it makes like a really nice showcase as well. For the actual background, we've gone with 2 or 3 mil plywood, and then we've actually stained that black as well. And we gave everything, I think, 2 coats of stain in the end because the first one was just too bright. But I really like the wooden texture that comes from the back there. So that's this side of the studio. I now want to take you over to the other side and show you our light version or our podcast setup. So let's go and take a look. Cool, so welcome to the light side of the studio, or our podcast room, as we're probably gonna end up calling it. This was something that in the design process, we took a lot of inspiration from Ali Abdul's videos. They're really like kind of bright and colorful. And although I don't think we've really achieved that, it pointed us in the direction that we wanted to. And it wasn't about copying his setup, just as much as like bringing something different to it. And that's what gave us the idea of having this kind of like fake slate wall, which I think has actually turned out really nicely. I mean, I'm certainly happy with it, but the learning process was just so difficult, trying to work out actually how to paint it to make it look like kind of slate or concrete. We had to use like 3 different colors of gray, and then we sponged it and all of this crazy stuff. I think the wall's looking kind of cool though. I think there's a few things that I want to change with it, but you never really know when you're painting if you're going to make it worse. And we actually ended up getting the kind of textures on the wall just by getting loads of filler, just like your standard decorating filler, and just splashing it on the wall and using like really harsh strokes. I think this is the one I was more excited about. I don't know what side I completely prefer at the moment, but I really do love this wall. The other thing with the build was once we actually put this all together, this is like this all the way down to the floor. And then when we set up the camera to see what it looked like, it just looked odd, and we couldn't really put a finger on it for a while. It's been so challenging building this wall, and this wall's getting heavier and heavier by the second the more stuff we add onto it. But I feel like we're in the final stages now before we can dress it, but now's the important bit with the finishing touches where you don't want it to seem crappy, so hopefully it looks good. But that ledge actually made it a lot nicer, because I like the idea of not hanging the stuff on the wall like the other side. I wanted it to be kind of like lent up, feel kind of like quite contemporary, modern, and that kind of, I guess, homely vibe really. So it's perfect when we've got guests in for podcasts, which we're hoping to do more of. And I'll talk you through the equipment in a moment, but that's what we kind of wanted this side to be, was a little bit more relaxed and natural. And I think it does serve that purpose. I'm certainly happy with it. I think I maybe prefer the other side, but I'd love to know what's your favorite side so far, and like whether you like the light side or the dark side. Yeah, I think there's a nice contrast between the two, and we wanted them to be different and not just like the 2 dark rooms at the end of the day. So equipment-wise, we've invested in a load of new equipment for this setup, basically. As we want to kind of increase our production value and do a lot more in the YouTube space, we decided we needed basically more gear to be able to do that. So initially, I bought a Shure SM7B. I'll link to everything in the description below, by the way. These are amazing podcast mics, and obviously you've seen me on this channel now be using that for a little while. But of course, with the podcast, we were just going to initially use lav mics, and the guys were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, just pay for another mic. So we doubled up. Both of those are going through a cloud lifter. Basically, it gives you kind of clean gain, so it boosts it. Basically boosts the levels through that. And then we plug them straight into our cameras, which for the time being, we've still got our 2 FS7s, such a sound camera, and they are solid. I know you guys are like, "Oh, you just said that you're leaving Sony to go for Canon." For YouTube stuff, but for the time being, we're still keeping these in our production company because they are solid cameras and we've obviously invested in them. But we run them straight into here, and then we've got the C70 that we're filming on at the moment. And the more I use this camera, and Josh does as well, the more I fall in love with it. Like I think it is just such an awesome camera. So I'm getting ready for all the hate comments in the comments. "Oh, why did you desert Sony?" But anyway, yeah. So for our podcast setups, we'll have the 2 FS7s, and then we have the C70 sitting as the wide. But the main point of this camera was to do more of these style shots and have something with that real kind of premium quality. So yeah, I'm happy with that. The podcast mic stands aren't that great, to be honest with you. I want to get those swapped out, but they'll kind of do temporarily for the time being. And then lighting wise as well, we were really fortunate. The guys at COLBOR lights, they sent us these over. I've shown them in a previous video. We actually had just come back from a nighttime shoot and these lights were phenomenal. And again, it's just one of those products that actually the more I use it, the more I really enjoy using it and see the, you know, the quality and stuff that they bring. So yeah, we're using them for our studio now as well. So we've got the CL220. This is super bright. For the podcast, we literally have it on 1 or 2%, but you can never have too much light in some ways, I guess. Although I'm probably well blown out standing next to it, but nonetheless, we've got that light, really cool. Shooting through their softbox, and then at the back here, we've got the smaller one, the CL60. This is the RGB light as well, and this thing, like I said before, is tiny. It's literally like the size of my hand, and I don't have particularly big hands or small hands, just normal size hands, but it's around about that size, and it's really cool. And same thing, it's just so easy to throw it up and just like get some stuff done. So we've gone cheap with this, but great tip for you guys. We're probably down the line gonna buy a gobo, which enables you to basically do what we're doing here, actually inbuilt in an attachment. But for the time being, we've just always used kind of slats cut out of cardboard. Put that through here, shoot some light through it. It gives you really nice kind of like window curtain slats. And that's exactly what we're doing. With the gobo that we'll probably buy later on, it enables you to do lots of different things. But for now, this served the purpose and it's something to get us up and running. But yeah, another really quality light. They've all got these kind of clamps as well, which is handy so you don't catch a cable and rip it out. Makes it easier to use, and it, like I said, is RGB, so it does all different types of colors and things like that. So yeah, super happy with those lights. I'm glad that we've got them. This is, I think it's nice. It serves like a slightly different purpose to the other side, but what I'm really excited to show you about is this back wall. So I'm gonna move this back over and I'll show you exactly how that back wall works and why that's so unique. All right, that's fun. I'm all good this way. Why isn't it moving? Oh yeah, it's stuck. There we go. Nice. Right, amazing. This wall, as you guys know, or those that have been around the channel long enough, that shouldn't have happened. Let me go quickly solve that out. As I was saying, so this was our original YouTube backdrop, and for years we just sat down in front of this and we lit it all and we shot it that way. And we've still kept that for the other side, as you've just seen, but we're probably gonna redecorate it at some point. I think it just got to a case of good is good enough for now, but we definitely would like to do a little bit more with this. And obviously, what we've been able to do is, and by the way, the design and the build of this is exactly the same as the big one, just smaller scale. Basically just some stud work across and over, 2.5 meters wide, 2.5 meters tall, and then just plasterboard or some wood on either side. And down here, we've just got some thicker wood to give it that sturdy nature. And with this, it's fine, it doesn't move because it doesn't weigh very much. And that one, like I said before, does, and we didn't really realize that would be the case because this one's so strong. I wanted to buy these panels that come pre-built, but they're like £300 for like this much. So I was like, for about this much. So I was like, no, I don't want to pay that much. I'll build it myself. This whole thing ended up costing about £500 or £600. It cost so much money. Plus it took me like 2 days to build. Had to buy a nail gun, which was a lot of fun. But what we couldn't decide on was the stain of wood, and we knew we didn't want to rush any aspect of this whole project, and it was important that we went out and we probably spent about £100 on different stains for the wood just to test it. But we went with a dark oak in the end, and then we painted the back wood just a real dark black. And I actually think it's really nice. It works out really nicely. And the gap we just did by eyesight initially, just to see what we think we would like. I think it works out to be like around about 2 centimeters. And then we cut a piece of wood, 2 centimeters, and then that's it. We just put it in between all of them and just nailed gunned them to the wall. So it actually went up fairly quick. I think we got this done, like I said, in around about 2 days, I think, from the top of my head. But I just couldn't believe how much it cost, and actually probably I should have just bought the proper stuff to begin with, but there you go, you live and you learn. But what's really cool about this now is that we can stick a sofa in front of it if I don't just destroy the rest of the studio. And we can use this as another backdrop, so we can shoot it the other side. And it also gave us the option to corner off the room. So we have a black sheet that we bring down, which would be basically behind you guys now. And it enables us to put the camera at an angle, shoot into the corner. We can shoot this way and we can shoot just this way. And it's exactly the same for the other side. We can shoot directly on into the corner or just the original YouTube backdrop. So it's given us basically 6 options to shoot with our studio. So I'm really excited to actually get through all of them. But what I want to know from you guys again is, what's your favorite side here? Because personally speaking, when I started, I thought the other side was going to be my favorite. It was the one I was the most excited about. But actually now it's finished, I think this one has to be my personal choice. Shooting into the corner, all this stuff in the backdrop with this over on the corner, I think it just sets it off really nicely. So there you go, that is our brand new YouTube setup. If you're interested in any of the equipment or stuff that we've used in our new studio, then I'll link that below in our kit list. Make sure you take a look at that. There's some amazing products that we're really excited to really dive into more. And thank you to you guys for supporting the channel. Without you, we wouldn't be able to build stuff like this. So I really do appreciate all of your effort in liking and commenting, just to boost our engagement. It's honestly, it means the world to me. And I can't believe that in this very short period of time, we've gone from like a couple of subscribers to almost 21,000. It's absolutely insane. So thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.